This is Hog Farmer Chris from the Hog Farmers Charitable Foundation. And before you start listening to Red Zone in the Lab, check out our Amazon Smile, a simple way to support the Hog Farmers Charitable Foundation every time you shop, and it's no cost to you.
We're back! Welcome back to Red Zone in the Lab with Deuce.
Welcome to a brand new season of the Red Zone in the Lab podcast, where nothing is off the table. We will be discussing entrepreneurship, education, Black history, health, movies, family, and of course, sports. So do yourself a favor, make sure you like, subscribe, and follow on all social media platforms, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And of course, you can always visit us at redzoneinTheLab.com.
Welcome back. This is Red Zone in the Lab podcast. I am Dion Deuce Blackney, and today we are previewing the Jaguars v. Commanders this Sunday, 1 o'clock at FedEx Field. And joining us today, Twitter Spaces contributor LeeJohn is in the building. What's up, man? Appreciate you for joining.
How's it going? Yeah. 24 hours, man. We're almost there.
Yeah, man. You ready to get popping, man? We had Spody and Duval on the Spaces at 4:30, talking about, the roster and different stuff like that, man. So again, I appreciate y'all, man, for coming through.
That's awesome.
All right, let's get into it. First of all, let's talk a little bit about LeeJohn, man. Jaguars fans. I mean, you're in New York, as you said, you're a New Yorker. How did you come about to be a Jags fan?
I started being a Jags fan when I was 6 years old. And I just didn't want to pick Jets or Giants in New York. My parents were opposite, so I was like, I'm not going to take a side. And I just started playing Madden, and they were in the middle of the Jets and the Giants. Alphabetically, they're right in between. So I picked them. They're even like blue-green. So it's like they're the same. Like the colors are mixed. They're right in between, and they also suck. So it's perfect. Losing season after losing season. Everybody in New York is pissed. Everybody in Jacksonville's pissed. So we're all looking at just, it's just one of those things. We're trying to get better. That's it.
Yeah, man. It's crazy, man. Sometimes what you hear, how people become fans, sometimes it's generational, sometimes it's something like you going alphabetical order and then blending the colors, man. I always like to kind of get that out, man. But let's get into some football talk. Let's go back a little bit and talk about the Urban Meyer experience from the beginning to the end, if you kind of sum that up, because, truth be told, here, he was in the press box a lot the year, I think 2020, he was in the press box here a lot. He had a good relationship with Dan. He was, showing, and some fans wanted him, and, we're going to get Urban Meyer. But obviously, looking back, I'm glad we didn't, man. But give us a little bit about the Urban Meyer experience.
When you're as bad as the Jaguars had been, you wanted somebody that was going to change the culture. The problem is that when you're vulnerable, if you have a way with words, you can get into penetrate vulnerable situations. And I think that was something that Urban Meyer was able to do with Shad Khan, being that, he was the head coach of Florida. They won, multiple national championships. He went to Ohio State, won a championship with a backup quarterback, which, you got to give the guy props. He's a really great, or he was at least, probably won't ever coach again. He was a really great college coach. And, you could hear him in interviews before he became the head coach about how he had studied the game of football for 6 months at a professional level and things like that. It's like you had to trust his resume.
Yeah, his name.
What he was saying didn't make me want him as a coach. So then what happened after that is one of the most atrocious things you could do to a franchise, a fan base, a quarterback, especially what they did to Trevor Lawrence. Because honestly, not a lot of guys, thank God we had a good character 21-year-old quarterback, because that kid went through a lot of shit that he probably cannot talk about and won't talk about because it's not worth it. And you could watch him in interviews during the middle of the season where Urban Meyer was forgetting the names of the players, and he had to go up there and just say, look, we're trying to get better. Things are down and it's not a good time for the guys. And, you don't want that your quarterback saying that 17 weeks in a row. And Urban Meyer put that on him. That was because Urban Meyer wasn't even there for the flights home. He put all that on the 20-year-old quarterback. So that's all I have to say about him. I'm glad he's gone.
So when did you all know the writing was on the wall, and what was the reaction when he finally, left the team?
The writing was on the wall when he benched James Robinson for Carlos Hyde. So basically, it's such a small thing, but it was really the last straw.
That was his boy.
Yeah. It basically, James Robinson fumbles, he gets benched. Carlos Hyde comes in, fumbles, doesn't get benched, stays in the game. James Robinson doesn't return to the game until Trevor Lawrence, it's actually on it was on the game film. Like if you're watching the game on TV, you could see they just freaking recorded it. Trevor Lawrence talking to Urban Meyer, telling him to put the running back in the game. And Urban Meyer goes back, for his press conference that night and says that it was the running back coach that took James Robinson out of the game. So once you lie like crazy, that, you can't be caught in between lies like that. And then I think from that point, Shad was just waiting for the one more thing to have a reason to fire the guy. And then Josh Lambo lawsuit.
Yeah. So let's get off of Urban Meyer. That was a dreadful experience for you all. So let's see if we can bring some positives from last year that kind of carried over into this year, going into this season. Do you have a few positives?
No, there was nothing to be positive about. I hate to say it, but maybe Tyson Campbell, the cornerback.
Yep.
That would be the only piece that really stayed, because we didn't get to see the safeties play. We didn't say Andre Sisco, for example. We thought he was going to be great. We drafted him high, and he never played. So it's hard to be positive about him because I haven't seen a lot from last year. The linebacking core is completely new, so we haven't seen any of those guys. So the positives are in the unknown right now, I would say. Josh Allen didn't have a good year last year. It was brutal, honestly. And we revamped the rest of the D-line. So on defense, you keep in 2 guys from the year before, essentially 3 guys that are really going to make an impact. And then on offense, I can't say there was a lot of positives from Trevor Lawrence's rookie year outside of just composure.
I think that's a big one too, though. It showed that he can be composed under so much stress that was going on around him on the field. Yeah,
we need to see more. And you leave it at that. You need to see number 1 pick play. So
yeah, I agree. What was the biggest offseason move you guys made?
Probably I would say Brandon Scherf. Okay. He's got to play. Yep. But he's probably our biggest addition. If he plays and like he should, we've had a problem with our right tackle, but he's athletic. But at times he jumps the gun, or he's called for holding, and sometimes it might be the guy next to him that he's compensating for. These guys play as a unit, so I think he's going to help with our right tackle, which is Jawan Taylor. He won the battle, which is nice to have. You want battles in the
competition.
Offense.
That's right.
You need it.
I think Brandon Scherf, he will help out. We had Sam Cosmi, rookie last year, right tackle, and he praised him on how much he was able to, help him develop. They lean a lot on Brandon Scherf. So as far as that part, I do agree that he's going to be a great mentor and a great help on that O-line for Jawan Taylor.
Yeah, you hope because it starts with the line, man. Offensive line, you got to get somewhere. Defensive line, you got to get a push. So I guess the defensive offseason edition, I would say, is this guy Trayvon Walker.
Yeah, gotta be, man.
He has to.
He gotta be him. So Trevor Lawrence, year 2, what are the expectations for him?
He's got to throw for, 4,500 yards. He's got a guy in Doug Peterson that's going to probably open up the field a lot more. He's got an athletic tight end. He's got guys that are going to be, I think they can be dominant in the intermediate game. I think the long game, I don't think they're going to be throwing a lot of deep balls. I don't think they want to. And that's kind of evident with who they signed. They didn't really add anybody to go deep. So I think Trevor Lawrence is going to use, I think it's going to be a West Coast offense. Boom, boom, boom. Make those short throws. Please do not. You got to be accurate on these out routes. It's his one thing he's got to get better at. And then run the ball down to people's throats. So if you could run the ball, I think, just with more of an open, secondary to look at, Trevor Lawrence is going to really, really flourish. I think
with Doug Peterson, I think he loves his tight ends. Either that or the quarterbacks he had loves his tight end, but either way he can scheme tight ends. He liked doing a lot of screens to his tight ends, middle screen, left screen, right screen. Yeah, he does a lot of pulls with his guards and the centers and his traps and different stuff like that. So I think having that quick 1-2 type of game for Trevor Lawrence is going to help with his development, because it's really starting now. I mean, like we talked about his composure from last year, that part is a plus, but he really starts now with Doug Peterson. Yeah,
it's terrible that you lose a year, but at least you get to know the locker room. I guess it's you're not going into a fresh scene. That's the only.
Most of that changed too, though, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about actually going to the same place. At least it's not like a new city for the guy.
Yeah, I got you.
It really is tough.
Do you sit back and say, man, these walls just need something? Feel like it's time to freshen up your place with something new? If your answer is yes, then it's time to call Rob of Lewis Paints Plus, the accent wall expert. Rob will even give you a free estimate on how he can transform those boring walls in your home. To book today, call 240-418-5241 or reach out on Instagram at Lewis Paints Plus. And for 10% off, tell him Red Zone sent you.
Welcome back to Red Zone in the Lab with Deuce.
All right. As far as the Jaguars as a whole, well, let's go back to Doug Peterson. What was that expectation for bringing in a new head coach? And was Doug Peterson on the fans list of top head coaches? And if not, how did you all feel about him coming aboard?
Everybody wanted Byron Leftwich. Nobody will tell you they didn't. But they kept saying the reason that we were upset about it was because there was names like Bill O'Brien that were getting interviews, and it's like you can't even listen to it as a fan. That's on a losing. It's rooting for a losing franchise. You don't want to hear things like that. But Doug Peterson's name was kind of just thrown in there, and he's a Super Bowl winning coach. And There's video of him on the sidelines in the Super Bowl, cool, calm, and collect, talking to Nick Foles about how they're going to win the fucking game. Mm-hmm. Like they're going to go win the game. And I respect that out of a head coach instead, instead of having guys like Gus Bradley, that's coaching a bunch of rookies that doesn't know what to say except, give me a good slogan, like grind, grit, do your job. It's like, we don't need to do that. We need to win the game. So I think Peterson's going to be sitting, home at night, scheming open, receivers for Trevor Lawrence. That's what we need.
I agree. I think he's going to be a great developmental guy for Trevor Lawrence. All right. So what are the expectations for the Jaguars for this season as a team?
I think that I think they want to win 10 games. I think if there's, because it's week 1 and nobody's won or lost yet, you can say something like that. But ideally, if everybody stays healthy and, your quarterback progresses, the team's young, they're strong up front on the defensive line and the offensive line. They got some veterans. If they can make a push, and, I think that people forget about how important coaching is. I think that, this guy's won a Super Bowl. The guy before him didn't know how to call plays in the NFL and never tried and didn't put enough time in. So if Trevor Lawrence is the number 1 pick and Travis Etienne is as explosive as he should be, if the defense plays well and can get after the quarterback with a lead, there's no reason the team can't win 10 games. I'm also a realistic person that could say that our floor is probably 5 wins. But we got to get better. I think that realistically, my prediction is that we get a lot better.
Do you, with the 10 wins, you think that's going to be enough to win your division?
They drafted to win the division. They drafted Devin Lloyd, Chad Muma, Trayvon Walker, because they know that Derrick Henry and Jonathan Taylor are in that division. So they know they got to stop the run. If they can stop the run, then all Trevor Lawrence has to do is pan out. That's that's 4 winnable games, and I'm not including the Texans. So if they could win 4 or 5 games in the AFC South, then they should win 10 games. I think that it's the higher projection is because the division is very weak, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Colts don't have the linebacker. So you can't expect them to have 36 turnovers again this year. That was an anomaly.
It was a crazy anomaly. So let's talk about this game. Let's talk about our game. Are there any concerns that you have coming into this game?
I think Carson Wentz plays better in the beginning of the season than he does towards the end. I think that although we were able to get to him last year and basically ruin his whole season. I think that
his whole season, off season,
terrible.
Life, everything changed.
Yeah, you had to move.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think that he's gonna play a lot better in this game than that game. So, that's one thing.
We have a strong wide receiving core. We one of the fastest in the league.
You have the one thing people forget about is that Jonathan Allen is a top 5 interior defensive lineman.
Yeah.
Payne. You don't have Chase. You don't have Chase Young, but that's one of like 6 guys that can dominate. So I'm worried about the line. If we don't get a push, then we're gonna have to throw the ball. And if we do have to throw the ball, I was just talking, we don't have a deep threat. Our passing game is going to rely on the running game, which could give us fits at times because, we're not a team that's just going to sit back there like Pat Mahomes and just, boom, boom, boom. I'm a surgeon and I'm going down to score a touchdown because I need it. We need to incorporate, some sort of misdirection, I guess, more often than not to move the ball consistently. So if we call a good game, we could, but if we have to go straight up against you guys, if we were running vanilla offenses, I think you guys would make it hard to convert many first downs.
Do you think Peterson, let me see, how much of the playbook do you think Doug Peterson has opened for Trevor Lawrence? I know, it's a small sample with the preseason and of course you're not there for like training camp, but just kind of hearing around, do you think how much of the playbook do you believe he opened up?
I think that you're going to see a lot of different formations.
Okay.
The reason I think that's because of their personnel more than anything. So if you can trust your quarterback to learn as much as he could possibly learn in one off season, if you could add a double tight ends, triple tight end situations where like the Ravens will run 3 tight ends out and just run the ball down your throat. If we could do something like that and still have tight ends that can catch the ball out of the backfield, then we're doing something. So with with a tight end like Chris Manhertz, that's a starting tight end, and then bringing in Evan Ingram, but holding on to Dan Arnold, it makes me think that they're going to be trying to do a lot of things in the middle of the field that I think that we wouldn't really trust a rookie quarterback to do. And you need to learn the playbook. You need to know exactly what's going on, exactly what you're going up against if you're going to run 2 tight ends and try to dice up the middle of the field. So because I think that's in their game plan, I do think that they're going to open up this playbook as much as they can for Trevor Lawrence. But opening up the playbook is not just throwing the ball. We have to we got to rely on Travis Etienne. We got to rely on James Robinson to know exactly what's going on. It doesn't just fall on the quarterback because people will fault the quarterback for snapping the ball when the team's not lined up, but everybody has to know where they're lining up at all times. So I do think we have a lot of smart guys that will do, will be where they have to be. I do. I don't think we have anyone that just came in that has to learn the playbook. Everyone's pretty much been there since April. That's going to start.
How confident are you in the wide receivers? Of course, the new addition of Christian Kirk which changed the wide receiver market. It affected us also with the how he with his signing, how he kind of changed the market a little bit. How confident are you in him and Marvin Jones?
I'm not really that confident. You can't be confident because you haven't seen – because you can't be confident because I don't think they completed, like I was talking about, their receiving core. They don't have a guy that's going to go over the top and, and catch a jump ball down, down 40 yards, down the field. So a guy like Christian Kirk, yeah, I could see him going in and catching a bunch of slants this year and maybe, some corner routes, but he's not the tallest guy. Marvin Jones is not the tallest guy either, and he's 30 something at this. He's not as fast as he used to be. I'll put it at that. Especially last year, you could tell. So I think the guy that we're going to wind up relying a lot on is Zay Jones, as far as just the receiving core. But if there was a coach to have this problem with, I think Doug Peterson's the guy to have this problem because he's going to utilize those tight ends and he'll utilize Etienne just because you have that lack of talent there.
All right. Yeah, man. Any questions for me before we do the score prediction?
So how do you feel about Carson Wentz's ability to get the ball to the receiving core here?
To me, we need Carson Wentz to be an 18 to 22 quarterback, right? Middle of the pack quarterback. He's a major upgrade over what we had last year and Taylor Heineke. Not so much grit and quote unquote playmaking, because we haven't seen that type of playmaking from Carson Wentz in a few years. But he can push the ball down the field. We have an aerial offense to push the ball down the field. Carson has proven that he can still push the ball down the field. And I know there's been some issues with accuracy here and there, but we had a whole lot of issues with accuracy last year. Taylor not being able to push the ball downfield, being late with passes, overthrown, underthrown, different things like that. But we have receivers that's used to that, that's able to go get the ball. Like the point of attack, being aggressive, we have those receivers. We have Terry McLaurin, he does that tremendously. We have Cam Sims, even though he's a 4-5 wide receiver, he's able to do that. Jahan Dawson has proven that he can do that. He's done it all over college. He's proven that he can go up and get the ball. I don't think that'll change much just because he comes into the NFL. So when we look at those type of players, I think when it comes to Carson Wentz, that we just need him to get the ball to them, to be able to push the ball down the field. We know we're going to get the bad Carson at times. We might get the left-handed throwing Carson, but as far as what we had last year, he's a major upgrade. I think he gets us, 2-3 more wins. I mean, we played top quarterbacks and Taylor Heineke was able to get us 7. We have a weak schedule. We don't have too many strong quarterbacks. So yeah, I'm looking that he can get us more wins, but we're not looking for him to be MVP Carson. And I think that's the stigma that people are putting on us, and we defend him as hard as we do because it's just, I mean, they have, I don't know if you saw the recent report from one of the guys, but they had like CJ Beathard ahead of him, quarterbacks coming into this season. I mean, that's just crazy. To me, it's criminal. It's ridiculous. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's sometimes you just get the hate. I mean, the Jaguars actually dealt with that with Blake Bortles a lot. There was times when I thought Blake Bortles was playing better than a lot of quarterbacks, and he was getting ranked in like 34th best quarterback, and obviously he didn't pan out. But the guy threw like 35 touchdowns in a season. He wasn't always a scrub, but he always got hate. So they like to drag certain guys. That's for sure.
Yeah. All right. So what do you think the score is going to be? I'll go first. You're the guest. I think we put up a lot of points, right? I think, quote unquote, they say this is Carson Wentz's first revenge game. He has a few of them this year. I think we put up 31 points, 31 points to 12. I think that's the final score of the game. I think Carson throws a few touchdowns. He may go about 300 yards maybe. So that's what I'm looking for as far as my predictions for the game, 31-12.
Well, I hope it's closer than that. I think that the Jaguars score more points than you think because, the element of surprise. Nobody knows what the Jaguars are going to roll out, especially because it's hard to really pay attention to the Jaguars. The Washington Redskins, as much as you've done your scouting in the preseason, there's no way that team what the formations that they ran in the preseason will correlate to anything that they run.
Oh, that's true. So that's true.
I think both teams will score 21 points. I think that since it's a close game, I think the Jags will win because I don't think Carson Wentz performs well under pressure. So I think that it'll wind up being like 20, let's say 28-24.
Jaguars.
I'd say Jaguars. It could go either way.
Got you. That's good. I think most predictions is like that. They have it kind of close. And
I will say this though:
20s.
If the Jaguars are in a position to win the game at the end with a field goal, they will most certainly lose the game because there was no kicker on the roster until like yesterday. They actually cut all their kickers on the initial 53. So they've had a really, really hard time with finding someone to kick the ball.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yep. So just something to think about. You probably want us to be in kicking situations as much as possible. You're going to want to bend, don't break. 12 points would be 4 field goals. No fucking way. No way.
You might got to. You might make me change my prediction. I might go 31-17 now. If that's the case with the kickers. I didn't know that.
Oh my god.
I know we kind of looked at the depth chart yesterday, but there was a kicker on there, but I didn't know he didn't make the initial 53.
I've never seen him kick. They actually claimed the guy off waivers. He was a waiver edition, and they had like number 1 waiver claim, so they got him. You can't make it up.
That's wild.
Yeah.
But again, thank you, LeeJohn. Thank you so much for taking this time, man, to come and chop it up with me on the podcast, man. I appreciate that, man. I know your time is valuable, and we appreciate you using it with us.
No, it's awesome talking to you, man. I mean, I'll be rooting for the Redskins all year, man. I always root for the teams that are underdogs. So, I'll be on your team as many games as I can. Just not week 1.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. But again, man, thank you again for joining. Thank you all out there for watching. Thank you for listening. This is Red Zone and Lab Podcast. I am Dion Deuce Blackney. 1 beat, 1 sound, 1 heart, 1 love.
Thank you for listening to Red Zone in the Lab Podcast. Please follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Red Zone in the Lab. And you can download our podcast at Spotify, iTunes, and Podbean. And please visit our website at redzoneinTheLab.com. Thank you.